Our speaker this morning is Rose Flaherty. Rose is a four-year boarding student from Barrington, Rhode Island. She's head prefect, captain of the girls' varsity ice hockey team, and sports editor for the Hill News. She's also the proud roommate of Olivia Cimarelli. Rose?
Growing up, I was almost always doing what my siblings were doing. Shadowing their lemonade stands, hanging out with their friends, and playing the sports that they played. All 8 of them played ice hockey, which meant for convenience purposes, I got thrown in there with them. Starting at a young age, I found myself on the Brown University ice many days of the week for instructional lessons. When I first started skating, I never found it to be particularly enjoyable. Due to the lack of bending my knees and my skates being hand-me-downs, not to mention molded to my older sister's feet, my body was definitely in pain. Some days during my lessons, my back would hurt so bad, I would stop what I was doing and lie down on the ice. My mom would watch me from the stands, and after seeing me lay down multiple days in a row, she eventually told me that I couldn't do that. The following days, I would get off the ice, go onto the bench, and lay on the ground where she couldn't see me. Learning to skate and play hockey in general wasn't easy, at least with this method. It took me a few years to get comfortable on the ice, but I grew to love the sport. A couple of years later, travel hockey tryouts came around, and I tried out for my local U8 team. Making any team at this age is almost effortless because, well, you're 7 years old. I remember when my mom received a phone call from the head coach following tryouts. She said to my mom, "Rose isn't strong enough to be on the team, but we love her attitude, and she's a hard worker." She then asked me if I wanted to be an alternate on the team. I was crushed. At the ripe age of 7, I was fixated on the fact that I was just merely an alternate on my first hockey team. From that day forward, I felt like I've always been behind the 8 ball. Not quite strong enough, not fast enough, not big enough. This was a clear setback for me. It altered how I felt about myself and my entire view on my hockey career, and I was only 7. How are we supposed to combat the setbacks that in the moment seem so astronomical to us? Any cliche will tell you to get back up when you fall down, but it's no secret that sometimes it feels better to continue laying on the ice because your back hurts. Truthfully, there's no instruction manual to help you bounce back, but a good first step in anything is acceptance. Understanding why and how you ended up in this situation allows the healing and growth process to begin. I knew at that moment, if I had given learning to skate more of an effort, I wouldn't have been in that situation years later. Another story that originates from my childhood is a conversation I had with my dad. I vividly remember being on a walk with him and rambling about my new hot take. I told him that I was going to be the smartest Flaherty. He challenged my statement by asking me why, which was a very rational question. I understand it was a bold claim to make at 9 years old, but it totally made sense to me at the time. I reasoned with him for a while by telling him that I would watch what mistakes my older siblings made and then simply not make them. Groundbreaking stuff, I know, but that was my master plan. Easy peasy, I thought. I will watch and I will learn. I will make no mistakes. And boy, was I confident about this. My method worked for small things like ensuring my parents were never mad at me and getting permission to do the things that my siblings never could. The only flaw with this theory was that as I grew older, making mistakes seemed to become second nature to me. My 9-year-old self would be rather disappointed to hear this, but with full transparency, I've messed up and I've hurt people many times. I've spent a lot of time wishing I would get the chance to change an outcome, apologize for a friendship fading, uncross lines, or even an opportunity to rebuild the bridges I've burnt. Last year, one of my prefectees asked me, "How do you give such good advice?" My response to her was, "I've made a lot of mistakes." Although it's hard for us to admit, even some of the worst mistakes we make are necessary. Because when you make a mistake, the only thing left to do is to fix it. A common saying is your mistakes don't define you, and that it's what you do after your mistakes that makes all the difference. Despite how harsh it may sound, I'm a firm believer that your mistakes do define you. You are where you are today because of your mess ups, and that's not something to necessarily be upset about. The road to get here probably wasn't the smoothest, but everything in life happened as a result of things you did or didn't do. You have learned and you have grown because of the mistakes you made. As Taylor Swift once said, my experience has been that my mistakes led to the best things in my life. Whether you realize it or not, mistakes can be positive. They get you to where you need to be with the people you are meant to be surrounded by. A few summers ago, I was riding my bike back from the beach. My towel wrapped around my shoulders, a smile on my face, alongside some of my childhood best friends. What was a great day turned into a very dramatic one when my towel slipped off my shoulders and tangled into the back wheel of my bike. I tried to brake quickly to gain control of my bike, which led me to stop short, flinging myself over my handlebars. To this day, I'm not sure how, but I ended up with a massive slug-looking gash at the top of my right leg. Despite the intense aftercare and bandaging I did to try to effectively heal my cut, I have a scar that will remain on my leg for the rest of my life. To add insult to injury, this scar was something I quickly became insecure about. I remember saying to my mom, I hate how ugly this scar is. My mom told me that this scar will always be a reminder of that day and a reminder to not ride my bike with a towel on my shoulders. Metaphorical scars are similar in the way that they linger and don't let us forget our own wrongdoings or times other people have hurt us. Scars have a bad reputation for being ugly, negative, or the root of insecurity. Whether metaphorical or physical, we all have scars. Some more visible than others, and some running deeper than we were ever prepared for. But they remind us of where we have been. Without them, we don't have stories to tell or past experiences to grow from. A quote from Batman states, "Our scars can destroy us, even after the physical wounds have healed. But if we survive them, they can transform us. They can give us the power to endure and the strength to fight." These stories, though not all directly connected and arguably insignificant, were opportunities for growth. I just didn't recognize it at the time. These are the important takeaways I hope will resonate with each of you. 1, each of us have strengths that stretch far beyond our athletic and academic abilities. The reason I was able to be an alternate and eventually work my way up to where I am today was because I work hard and I have a good attitude. At 7, 9, and honestly, any age prior to this one, I was too emotionally immature to understand what exactly my strengths were. But now I know recognizing and applying your strengths will help you achieve what you want. 2, making mistakes and having scars are a natural extension of being a human. There is no way of escaping the pain that they can bring. Like any wound, it'll sting for a little bit, but eventually become something of the past. 3, you can't grow alone. It may be easier to battle your scars and the things you're afraid of within your own head. But I promise, sometimes just feeling heard can change your entire perspective on a situation. 4, never take for granted those in your life who stick with you at your lowest, support you on your darkest days, and constantly push you to be better. If there was one piece of advice I could give to anyone at Hill, it would be to form deep and meaningful relationships with those around you. After 4 years, I am fortunate to say that I have met some of my lifelong friends here. People who accept and love me despite my scars and all of the mistakes I've made. Without these people in my life, I would be half the person I am standing here today. Last but not least, 5. You are going to make more mistakes than you can count, and experience more setbacks than anticipated. You have to hurt, be hurt, love, lose, and mourn, but don't let them be meaningless stories in your life. Encourage yourself to learn the hard lessons. You'll be shocked to see how much you've grown from them. You cannot fear making mistakes or feel haunted by your scars and still expect to reach the things you want in life. Every setback, mistake, and scar is a blessing and a chance to grow if you let it be. Thank you.